Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the iGPSPORT BSC100 Max budget GPS cycling computer. The iGPSPORT BSC100 has been their entry-level GPS computer in the BSC lineup and has been one of their most affordable GPS computers. The new BSC100 Max that we have here is a replacement for the BSC100S and offers a larger screen and more streamlined body. You can see the packaging is very simple, nice white design. You have iGPSPORT logo on black, this nice glossy BSC100 Max on the side, and a big glossy representation of the computer. Specs are printed on the back and the sides as well. I'll go ahead and open this up. We'll go over the full specs. Retail price is under $50, so very affordable. It has a 3-inch black and white display. So it's a simple display, but much larger than it previously was. It also has full GPS. That means you don't need any sensors. You can just use this right out of the box. And it has a molded in Garmin mount, so you can use it with just about any out front mount on the market. It also is USB Type-C chargeable with a 40-hour claimed runtime. As far as what's included, you can see we have the computer itself, which again, a lot sleeker than the previous one, and then a basic handlebar mount with 2 rubber straps and the actual adapter. But again, because this is Garmin, you should be able to use it with just about anything. It's also an instruction manual, which helps you get started pretty quickly with the computer, although it is a very simple one as it's a budget version of the BSC lineup. Now let's take a look at the weight of the computer. So the computer by itself is 67 grams. Visually, the iGPSPORT BSC100 Max has a much more premium and sleek appearance, and that's really because of the larger screen. It's now 3 inches, so it matches a lot of the more premium computers on the market, and it also has a very sleek and thin body as it can have a smaller battery. So you can see the edges are all pretty much plastic with a glossy screen, and then you have these nice curved detailing around the battery base, and then a little bevel between the screen and the body. You have simple branding with iGPSPORT on top, and then iGPSPORT in white on the front side. So it really looks a lot more expensive than it really is. What gives this away is the black and white screen though, so a much more simple display than your higher end computers. You also have 2 physical buttons, so it's a non-touch screen, and in between here, it's almost hidden, but this is actually a rubber cover that conceals the USB Type-C charging port, which lets you charge this with a modern interface. On the bottom you have a standard Garmin mount. It's molded directly into the base, so not replaceable, and they include a very simple handlebar mount. So it's just a multi-piece design with a rubber base and then this little cover. So with this one, the plastic tabs go right inside and lock in. And then you can use the included O-rings to go around the hook and either around your stem or the handlebar. We'd recommend something like an out front mount. This is the KOM cycling version. And you can see it looks a lot sleeker. You just line this up and then lock it in place. And you can see much thinner and more attractive. Puts in front of the stem rather than being on the handlebar itself. So definitely recommend that if you don't already have one. As far as the user interface, very simple. 2 buttons. If I hold the left one, that powers it on. You can see a nice little logo with BSC. And again, this is what really makes this a cheaper computer. You can see the display is a predefined grid style. So you don't have a dense matrix of pixels. Instead, you have these predefined labels. So there's only certain things that can be in each spot, and that really limits the user interface. So everything's already predefined grid. You can't really move things around. You can't have an overlay. Obviously, no map view, no radar connectivity. And you can see when you switch pages, all it's changing is the labels, which have dedicated spots. There's 3 pages by default, and with this larger display, you can see you have 6 data fields on the bottom, and then a primary one above with this cool little sweep line that actually has a little bar graph that fills in. Basic icons on top. The user interface is all through the 2 buttons. There's no touch screen. So holding that was on and off. Single press starts the recording. And then you can see there's auto pause. So until you're moving, it'll auto pause. And then you can double tap to get the lap. So with a lap, you can see all the metrics without the other line indicators. So very simple display. You can also cycle through the pages with the right button. And again, double tap will turn the light on and off. So it's a manual backlight. And it's actually pretty nice and uniform, so you don't see the edges like you do with the really cheap computers. But otherwise very simple. And if you have a recording and you hold the right button, it'll actually let you save it. The only way to discard a recording is to actually just shut it off. But otherwise very simple, and again, very limited as far as what you can display. But you can use the app to customize some of this and reorder the pages. Now let's take a look at some riding footage with the computer installed on our bike. You can see it has a nice little startup animation that takes advantage of the bar display and shows BSC where the numbers would show up. If you double tap the bottom right button, you can actually manually turn on the backlight, which is a good feature. It was something I was missing from the previous version. Before it was just based on time. Once you're ready to start riding, the GPS signal takes a second or two to load, depending on where you're at. For us, it takes about 30 seconds or a minute. And then once it kicks in, everything will start updating. What's nice about this computer is it has auto pause and auto start enabled by default through the app. So you can adjust those features, but it allows you to just start recording. You don't have to worry about anything. So you can see as soon as you start riding, you can start getting some data updates. And with the bar display, it's kind of a cool feature. It mimics the radio display you see with the color touchscreens, but does it with basic 5-bar setup. You don't have as much configuration here as some of the previous versions. So you can actually set which bar turns on when, but with speed it seems to be about 20 miles an hour when it finally fills in. You can also do lap feature, so double tapping the bottom left button is a nice way to see your interval. So if you're going up a hill and you want to see your time just for that interval, you just double tap. And I like this feature because it doesn't take up more real estate. With some other computers that have a dedicated lap region, and that just always takes up space. With this one, it's completely hidden. The double tap isn't quite as easy to trigger. It's a very specific timing, but it does work well. As far as saving the ride, it's really easy. You just hold the bottom right button. You get the save option. If you tap it again, it'll save it. And you see the recording symbol's gone. If you don't want to save the ride, you just power it off. So it's simple as that. Configuration menu on the GPS is also very confusing. Very basic display as they can't show more text. So you just get E1 all the way to E6, where E6 is your odometer. You can do the pairing mode with your computer, and then you can also do the standard sensor pairing on here. But for everything else, I'd recommend just using the app. Now let's take a look at the iGPSPORT app. So with this app, you can do some basic configuration with the BSC100 Max. Obviously, it's a very simple computer, so the options are a lot more limited. But you can see on the app, you have the basic 4-tab navigation. You can see an overview of the routes you've already loaded with a little history of them. And then you can even see some basic analytics on the route that you've completed with some graphs and other things. It seems pretty polished. It has some rough edges, some capitalization mistakes. So it's not perfect, but still pretty good. You can see all the information you want. And then you can upload directly to Strava or other things. On the activity page, you have another one. You can see another kind of history by date, total mileage. And then under device, you can connect to the various iGPSPORT devices. Because this one is newer, it's not showing up on the screen, but you can actually see here, you can see BSC100 Max does show up, and then you have some basic options. Under data management, this is where you can do the auto upload, so you can directly upload to Strava or other linked accounts. You can see which sensors are connected. You can set up notifications, so you can get call notifications on the computer if you have the phone connected and paired. For this first pairing, you can see it actually shows the indication. You want to actually go to the configuration option, click pair, and that'll simply just launch or restart the computer as it does the initial Bluetooth search when you first turn it on. You have basic altitude calibration, and then firmware updates. So they do occasionally update the software, so it's good to get rid of some of the bugs and check this every once in a while. Under page configuration, you do have some customization, so you can see a nice 3D view, a nice 2D view of the actual computer. And here you can edit the 3 screens, and you can even adjust each one. So here you can see, if you click on the field, you get a couple options, which is actually surprising given the basic design of the screen. You don't really have customization as everything's predefined, but they have these predefined labels, so you can actually mix and match. So here you see I have max speed. I can do average speed. You can even do normal speed. You can do heart rate. So a couple options here, and you can even do blank data, which is interesting, so you can just blank it out. So you have some basic customization, and then you have the 3 pages, which you can even add up to 5, or reorder them. So some basic options. You can't really tell what page you're on though, which is a little bit weird. You can see on the device, you see things changing, but there's no indicator of what page you're on. So you can discard that, and then there's some alert settings. So if you want to remind yourself to eat or drink, there's a pretty good way based on time distance. And when you first get this computer, it does have the auto lap based on 3.1 miles, which really doesn't make any sense. You definitely want to go turn that off. And then there's auto scroll, which also returns back home, which is a nice feature. So if you go away from the home page to look at another page and you wait, it'll automatically pop back to the original home page, which is a nice feature, which you can also disable if you didn't want it. We've actually reviewed most of the iGPSPORT BSC lineup, including the original 100S that the 100 Max is going to replace. And you can see side by side, it's very obvious the screen size has grown. So with the old one, you only had 4 data fields on the bottom, primary one on top, with a little sweep line and the bar graph. Same thing here, but now you have 6 data fields and a more stylized version. It's also a lot sleeker, so side by side, you can see how much thicker this is. And this one just really looks a lot more premium with the larger 3-inch screen. So you can definitely, pays off, and otherwise very simple, similar user interface with the double taps and single presses. With the old one, you did have an indicator what page you're on with that little top bar graph. You don't really have that here, so it's not clear what page you're on, except for the data fields changing. And you can see they had better separation before between the data fields. This one, everything's really close together, so it's a lot harder to see things. If you want navigation or other features, there's a BSC100T. So color touchscreen, nice vibrant screen. Has all the features you want, workouts, maps. You can see it's a smaller display though. And then you have nice touchscreen swiping, map view, and more features like climb profiles and other things. So if you want more features, you have to move up, but obviously it costs more, and you can see the screen size is a pinch too small. I really like the 3-inch or 2.8-inch sizes more than the smaller 2.5 ones. iGPSPORT also has a much more expensive one, the IGS800. So this one I believe is 3.5 inches, so significantly bigger. You can see color, and this one gives you a lot of metrics, including live segments, which is iGPSPORT's version, not the Strava one. But you can create your own segments and use that with the similar to Strava, but generate them through iGPSPORT. But you can see it's a bigger screen, and they've essentially gotten rid of the bezels, so really premium looking, where this one has kind of chunkier bezels on top and bottom. They've really made use of the full space, and again, color with maps, navigation, and even stuff like stamina and other metrics that you get with higher end computers, but obviously cost a lot more. Bryton has their own competitor. This is the 810. You can see this one's 3.5-inch display. You get a color screen with glass design, so you can see it's a curved glass display rather than just being plastic. But obviously these cost more and have a ton more features and bigger view with more options than these predefined grids. There also is the Bryton R650. This is the newer one. It's more affordable, mid-level, but color touchscreen navigation. And you can see it's 2.8 inches, and the difference really is just the bezels. So a little bit sleeker, a lot more features, but this is nearly 170, so quite a bit more than the base level. So the iGPSPORT is a good option. I like the bigger screen. It does have some downsides with some of the display elements, but definitely a nice upgrade from the original. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the BSC100 Max. What we like about it is the sleek form factor. The larger screen results in a thinner body, which looks a lot more premium. And at 3 inches, it's about the perfect size for a cycling computer. Also with that large display, you get 7 data fields. So you get 6 on the bottom and then a primary one on top. So it's more than enough to have a simple single data page for most rides. You also have some basic customization and support for power meters, which is nice, especially at this lower price point. As far as negatives, you do have a manual backlight. It would have been nice if they just had a sensor in there and automatically turn on and off. If you accidentally leave it on, it definitely drains the battery. So you do want to remember to turn it off if you're not really using it. Also, the display fields on the bottom in particular are very close together, and you can even see that in the background here. It would have been nice if there's a little bit more spacing, as you have to focus for a second to actually see which number belongs to which area. Also, the speed display seems to max out at 20. It would have been nice if that was configurable, or a little bit higher speed. Taking everything into account, we give the BSC Max a 8.9 out of 10. It has a nice large display and very budget-friendly price point. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at The Sweet Cyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.